For 142 years, humanity had been the quiet ones. They joined the Galactic Assembly as the youngest species, and they smiled when others laughed at them. They nodded when others insulted them. They forgave when others hurt them. The galaxy called them the patient ones, and it was not a kind name. It meant weak. It meant foolish. It meant afraid. Admiral Taman Kang had spent his entire life believing in peace. He was 63 years old, with gray hair and tired eyes that had seen too much. He commanded the United Earth Fleet, but he had never fired a weapon in anger. He was proud of that fact. His daughter, Jiwon, had inherited his gentle heart. She became a teacher on New Busan, a farming colony at the edge of human space. She taught children how to grow rice in alien soil. She wrote her father letters about the purple sunsets and the sound of wind through the grain fields. The last letter came on a Tuesday. 3 days later, New Busan went silent. Ambassador Yuna Park received the report first. She was a small woman with kind eyes and a voice that could calm any room. For 20 years, she had represented Earth in the Galactic Assembly. She had been spat on, threatened, and humiliated. She had smiled through all of it because she believed that peace was worth any price. The report said that the Veldrathi Dominion had attacked New Busan. They claimed the colony had crossed into their territory. This was a lie. Everyone knew it was a lie. The Veldrathi did not care. They had deployed a bioweapon called the Silence. It killed slowly. It killed painfully. And it killed everyone. 2,300,000 people, gone in 72 hours. Yuna read the names of the dead. She found Jiwon Kang on page 47. She found children. She found babies. She found entire families who had simply wanted to grow food under an alien sun. She walked into the Galactic Assembly chamber that day with evidence. She had recordings. She had medical data. She had the final messages from dying colonists, begging for help that never came. She presented everything with a steady voice, even though her hands were shaking. The assembly voted. 47 species, and 43 voted for a formal reprimand. 4 abstained. None voted for action. The Veldrathi ambassador, a tall creature with scales like black glass, laughed openly. He looked directly at Yuna and said, "Perhaps your people should learn their place." Yuna said nothing. She gathered her documents and walked out. On Earth, Admiral Taman sat alone in a dark room. He held the last letter from his daughter. She had written about a boy in her class who was afraid of storms. She had held his hand until the thunder passed. She wrote that she hoped to have children of her own someday. General Minho Ryu found him there. Minho was different from Taman. He was cold where Taman was warm. He was sharp where Taman was soft. For 30 years, he had run Earth's defense intelligence. For 30 years, he had warned that this day would come. No one had listened. The assembly did nothing. Minho said. Taman did not look up. "I know. They will do it again. The Veldrathi, or someone else. They will keep hurting us because they think we will never fight back." 1. Taman folded his daughter's letter carefully. He placed it in his pocket, close to his heart. When he looked up, his eyes were different. The gentleness was still there, but something else had joined it. Something old. Something cold. "Call the council," he said. The United Earth Council met in emergency session. Every leader, every general, every admiral. They filled the Great Hall in Geneva, the same hall where humanity had once signed its first peace treaties. The room was silent. Everyone knew why they were there. Ambassador Yuna stood before them. Her voice did not shake anymore. "I have spent 20 years telling the galaxy that we are peaceful. I have spent 20 years believing that if we were patient enough, kind enough, forgiving enough, they would learn to respect us." She paused. Her eyes moved across the room. "I was wrong. She told them about the laughter. She told them about the vote. She told them about the Veldrathi ambassador's words. They do not see us as equals. They see us as prey. And prey does not negotiate. Prey does not reason. Prey runs. Or prey dies. Her voice hardened. I am done running. Admiral Taman stood. The room fell even more silent. I have given my life to peace, he said. I believed in it. I still believe in it. But peace is not surrender. Peace is not watching our children die while the galaxy laughs. Peace is not weakness. He looked at the faces around him. Young officers. Old veterans. Politicians who had never seen war. Scientists who had hoped they never would. My daughter believed in teaching. She believed that you could change the universe one child at a time. The Veldrathi killed her for that belief. They killed 2 million people because they thought we would do nothing. His voice dropped low. They were wrong. General Minho stepped forward. He activated a holographic display. Ships appeared. Hundreds of them. Then thousands. Hidden shipyards. Secret weapons programs. 30 years of quiet preparation. We are not weak, Minho said. We have never been weak. We simply chose not to fight. That choice is no longer ours to make. The vote was unanimous. Admiral Taman spoke the words that no Earth commander had spoken in 142 years. His voice was steady. His heart was broken. But his resolve was iron. Earth declares war. Una broadcast the declaration across every channel in the galaxy. She spoke of patience, exhausted. She spoke of mercy betrayed. She spoke of a line that should never have been crossed. She ended with words that would echo through history. You mistook our patience for weakness. You mistook our mercy for cowardice. You will not make that mistake again. You. Somewhere in the dark of space, the ancient Neurithans heard the broadcast. They were the oldest species in the galaxy. They had watched civilizations rise and fall for millions of years. Their eldest listened to the human declaration. And then he gave a single order. Evacuate our border worlds. All of them. When asked why, he simply said, We have read the histories of their homeworld. You have not. The galaxy had finally pushed humanity too far. And now, it would learn why that was a terrible mistake. The declaration of war spread across the galaxy like fire through dry grass. Every species, every world, every station heard the words of Ambassador Una Park. Most of them laughed. The Veldrathi laughed loudest of all. Their high commander, a massive creature named Dreth, addressed his people with amusement in his voice. The humans have finally grown a spine, he said. How unfortunate for them that spines can be broken. His fleet numbered over 8,000 warships. Human intelligence estimated Earth had perhaps 1,000. The math was simple. The outcome was certain. The Korath Syndicate, a species known for gambling on everything, opened betting pools across their worlds. The odds were 50-1 against humanity surviving more than 3 months. Fortunes were wagered on which week the humans would surrender. But not everyone laughed. The Neurithans continued their evacuation. Ships filled with their young fled from any system near human space. Other species watched this with confusion. The Neurithans had observed the galaxy since before most civilizations existed. They had seen empires rise and fall. They did not panic. They did not flee. Until now. A young Korath diplomat approached the Neurithan eldest at an assembly meeting. Why do you run? He asked. The humans are weak. Everyone knows this. The eldest looked at him with eyes that had seen stars born and die. The Korath shook his head. The humans had 2 of them. On their homeworld. Before they even reached space. The eldest's voice was heavy, with something that might have been fear. In their First World War, they invented weapons that could kill thousands in seconds. In their second, they created a bomb that could destroy entire cities in a flash of light. They used it. Twice. The Korath laughed nervously. That was primitive. They are peaceful now. They chose to be peaceful. The eldest corrected. There is a difference. A predator that sleeps is still a predator. You have just woken it up. On Earth, Admiral Taemin Kang stood before the assembled fleet commanders. The secret was finally revealed. General Minho's ghost protocol had been running for 30 years. Hidden shipyards in asteroid fields. A fleet 3 times larger than any intelligence agency had estimated. But ships alone did not make an army. Training did. And for 142 years, humanity had trained. Captain Sujin Han stepped forward when her name was called. She was 34 years old, with sharp eyes and a reputation for brilliance. She commanded the stealth destroyer Silent Fury, one of 12 ships in the Shadow Squadron. Her brother had been a farmer on New Busan. He had sent her pictures of his crops 3 days before the attack. Captain Han, Admiral Taemin said, "Your squadron will lead the first strike." Sujin's face showed nothing. "Yes, Admiral, this will not be a direct assault. We are outnumbered. We cannot win a straight fight against the Veldrathi fleet." Taemin activated a holographic map. "So, we will not give them one." The plan was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Most species fought wars the same way. Fleets met in space. Ships fired at each other. The bigger fleet won. Simple. Honorable. Predictable. Humanity had studied every galactic war for 142 years. They knew every tactic, every weakness, every blind spot. "We will not attack their ships first," Taemin explained. "We will attack everything that keeps their ships running. Fuel stations, supply depots, communication networks. We will make their fleet blind, deaf, and hungry." General Minho added details. "The Veldrathi have never faced an enemy that refused to meet them in open battle. They have no word for guerrilla warfare. They have no defense against it." Lieutenant Hana Choi listened from her station on the flagship Eternal Dawn. She was 26 years old, newly promoted, and terrified. She had joined the fleet to explore the stars, not to fight wars, but she had also seen the footage from New Busan. She had heard the final messages from dying colonists. Fear and anger mixed in her heart until she could not tell them apart. Dr. Jinho Lee was not a soldier. He was a scientist, gentle and soft-spoken, who had spent his career developing technologies that he hoped would never be used. Now he stood in a weapons laboratory, looking at the devices he had created. Missiles that could disable shields, bombs that could cripple stations, guns that fired faster and hit harder than anything the galaxy had seen. He hated what he had built. He hated that it was necessary. But when he thought of the children on New Busan, the hatred faded into something colder, something resolved. Ambassador Yuna remained on Earth. She had one more message to deliver, this time to the Galactic Assembly. She stood before the gathered representatives of 47 species and spoke without notes. 142 years ago, we joined this assembly hoping to find friends. We found masters who treated us as servants. We found predators who saw us as prey. We found a galaxy that took our kindness and called it weakness. She paused. The chamber was utterly silent. We asked for justice after New Busan. You gave us laughter. You gave us insults. You gave us nothing. Her voice hardened. So now we take what we need. Not land, not resources. We take respect. And if respect must be bought with fire, then fire it shall be. She turned to leave, then stopped. To those species who showed us kindness, who treated us as equals, we bear no anger. This war is not with you, but to those who laughed at our dead, who mocked our tears, who thought our patience was endless. She looked directly at the Veldrathi ambassador. We are coming, and we do not forgive. The Veldrathi ambassador's laugh died in his throat. For the first time, He looked uncertain. Across human space, ships powered up their engines. Soldiers said goodbye to families. Officers reviewed battle plans that they had memorized years ago, hoping they would never need them. Admiral Taman stood on the bridge of the eternal dawn. Through the window, he could see Earth blue and green and beautiful, the home of a species that had survived ice ages and plagues and wars against itself. A species that had learned, painfully, what violence cost. A species that had chosen peace. A species that had just chosen war. "Admiral," Lieutenant Hanna said, "all ships report ready." Taman nodded slowly. His hand moved to his pocket, where his daughter's letter rested against his heart. "For over a century," he said quietly, "we showed the galaxy who we wanted to be." He straightened. His voice carried across every ship in the fleet. "Now, we show them who we truly are." Wealth, the fleet began to move. The galaxy held its breath. It would not breathe easy again for a very long time. The Veldrathi expected an attack. They prepared for one. Their massive fleet gathered at the border of human space, guns charged and shields raised. High Commander Dreth stood on his bridge, waiting for the humans to come to him. He would destroy them in one glorious battle. It would take, perhaps, a day. He waited 3 weeks. On the first night, Captain Sujin Han led her shadow squadron through the darkness between stars. Their ships were small and quiet, painted black and running cold. Veldrathi sensors looked for engines and heat signatures. The human ships gave them nothing to find. They slipped past the waiting fleet like ghosts. 2,000 light-years behind the front lines, the Veldrathi maintained their largest fuel processing station. It was a massive structure, big enough to refuel an entire battle group. 15,000 workers lived there. It had never been attacked because it was too far behind enemy lines. No one could reach it. The Silent Fury reached it at 3 in the morning. Station time. Sujin watched the station through her viewport. Her orders were clear. Military targets only. No civilian casualties. She activated her targeting computer and found the fuel storage tanks, the processing equipment, the loading docks. She avoided the living quarters. "Fire," she said. 12 missiles launched. They flew silent and dark until they were too close to stop. The explosions lit up the void like artificial suns. The fuel tanks went up in chains of fire. The processing equipment melted into slag. The loading docks crumbled into debris. The station was crippled but not destroyed. The living quarters were untouched. 15,000 Veldrathi would survive, but they would never process another drop of fuel. Before anyone could respond, the Shadow Squadron vanished back into the dark. That same night, across 3 sectors, human forces struck 47 different targets. Communication satellites went silent. Supply depots burned. Navigation beacons stopped transmitting. It was not one attack. It was 100 attacks, all at once. All perfectly coordinated. High Commander Dreth received the reports the next morning. He did not believe them at first. How could the humans be everywhere at once? How could they strike so deep behind his lines? How could they disappear before his ships could respond? He ordered his fleet to hunt down the attackers. His ships scattered across the sector, searching for an enemy they could not find. On the 5th day, the Veldrathi communication network failed completely. Ships could not talk to each other. Commanders could not receive orders. Dreth screamed into a void that did not answer. On the 12th day, 40% of his fleet ran out of fuel. Ships that had been hunting enemies became floating targets. Captain Sujin's squadron found them one by one. She did not destroy them. She disabled their weapons and engines, then broadcast a message on all frequencies. "Surrender and you will be treated fairly. Fight and you will die." Some fought. They died. Most surrendered. They were shocked to find that the humans kept their word. Prisoners were fed, treated for injuries, and held in humane conditions. This was not how war was supposed to work. This was not how enemies behaved. The reports reaching the Galactic Assembly grew more desperate each day. The Veldrathi, who had laughed at humanity, were being systematically destroyed. Not in great battles, but in 1,000 small cuts. Their mighty fleet, the pride of their civilization, was bleeding to death without ever fighting the war it was prepared for. Ambassador Yuna received a delegation from the Korath Syndicate. They came offering peace. They came offering alliance. They came offering anything the humans wanted. Yuna listened politely, then shook her head. Where was your offer when we asked for help? Where was your concern when our people were dying? She stood. We do not want your alliance. We do not want your gold. We want you to remember this moment. We want you to remember what happens when you ignore the cries of the innocent. The Korath left empty-handed. On the battlefield, the galaxy began to see what human warfare truly looked like. Other species fought for territory or honor or resources. Humans fought to win. They did not care about glory. They did not care about fair fights. They cared about going home alive. A Veldrathi commander reported that his ship had been attacked by humans who were badly wounded. Burns, broken bones, missing limbs. They kept fighting. They kept advancing. They did not stop until they won or until they died. Even then, their bodies were recovered by their comrades, who returned immediately to battle. They are not soldiers, the commander said. They are something else. Lieutenant Hana Choi saw her first combat 3 weeks into the war. Her station on the Eternal Dawn was hit by debris from a destroyed enemy ship. She was thrown across the bridge, her arm broken, her head bleeding. The ship's doctor wanted to sedate her. She refused. My station is still working, she said through clenched teeth. I can still fight. Admiral Taman watched her return to her post. He saw something in her eyes that he recognized. The same thing he had seen in Captain Sujin. The same thing he felt in himself. It was not hatred. Exactly. It was worse than hatred. It was determination so deep and cold that nothing could stand against it. The humans adapted faster than the Veldrathi could believe. Tactics that worked once never worked again. Traps that caught human ships on Monday were avoided on Tuesday. It was as if the entire human military shared one mind, learning and changing and growing stronger with every battle. A captured Veldrathi officer was interrogated by General Minho Ryu. The alien was terrified, shaking, broken by the speed of his fleet's destruction. What did you see? Minho asked. The officer's voice was barely a whisper. They do not stop. They do not tire. They do not forget. And they are so very angry. Minho nodded slowly. Good. You are beginning to understand. After 6 weeks, the great Veldrathi fleet no longer existed. It had not been destroyed in one massive battle. It had been taken apart, piece by piece. Ship by ship. System by system. The humans had not fought a war. They had conducted a surgery, removing every piece of the enemy's ability to fight. And they were not done yet. Admiral Taman stood before his commanders and pointed at a star map. The Veldrathi homeworld glowed red in the center. We have broken their fleet, he said. Now we break their will. But remember our orders. No civilian targets. No unnecessary deaths. We are not monsters. We are soldiers. The moment we become what we fight against, we have already lost. The fleet moved forward. The Veldrathi homeworld began to see human ships in their skies for the first time, and they learned, finally, what fear truly felt like. The Veldrathi homeworld had never been touched by war. For 3,000 years, their civilization had expanded outward, conquering others while keeping their homes safe and peaceful. Their children grew up believing that war was something that happened to other species, something far away, something that could never reach them. Human ships appeared in their sky on a cold morning in their autumn season. They did not attack. They did not fire. They simply hung there, silent and dark, like birds waiting to descend. The message they broadcast was simple. Surrender your military. Face trial for your crimes. We will not harm your civilians. This is your only chance. The Veldrathi government refused. Admiral Taman nodded when he received their answer. He had expected it. Pride was a hard thing to break, even when everything else had already fallen. Begin the second phase, he ordered. Human forces did not bomb cities. They did not destroy homes. Instead, they systematically eliminated every military installation on the planet. Bases, armories, command centers, factories that made weapons, ships that carried soldiers. All of it, gone in 48 hours. The Veldrathi military command tried to fight back. Their ground forces fired at human ships. Their remaining fighters launched desperate attacks. None of it mattered. Human technology was not just better, it was generations ahead. Dr. Jinho Lee had spent his career making sure of that. Jinho watched the reports from his laboratory on Earth. He saw the weapons he had designed do exactly what he had built them to do. Every dead enemy soldier was a success for his work. Every destroyed base was proof that his years of effort had not been wasted. He should have felt proud. He felt sick instead. His assistant found him sitting alone in the dark that night. Dr. Lee? Are you all right? Jinho did not answer for a long moment. I became a scientist because I wanted to help people, he finally said. I wanted to heal diseases, grow food, make life better. He looked at his hands. Now I make death, and I am very good at it. His assistant sat beside him. Those weapons are saving human lives. I know. Jinho's voice was tired. That is why I hate myself a little less. On the Veldrathi homeworld, Captain Sujin Han led a ground team to capture the military leadership. Intelligence had located the bunker where the high commanders were hiding. The same commanders who had ordered the attack on New Busan. The same commanders who had authorized the use of the silence. Sujin moved through the darkness like a shadow. Her team was small and fast. They bypassed security systems that the Veldrathi believed were unbreakable. They moved through corridors that should have been impossible to find. High Commander Dreth was there, surrounded by his generals. When human soldiers burst through the door, he reached for his weapon. Don't, Sujin said. Her voice was calm. Her gun was steady. I want you alive. You need to answer for what you did. Dreth stared at her. He saw her eyes and recognized what was in them. He had seen it in the eyes of predators. He had never seen it in the eyes of prey. You are the captain of the stealth ship, he said slowly. I have heard reports about you. They say you lost family on New Busan. My brother. Sujin's finger rested on the trigger. He was a farmer. He had never hurt anyone in his life. Your bioweapon took 3 days to kill him. He sent me a message on the second day. He said he loved me. He said he was not afraid. Her voice cracked for just a moment, then steadied. He lied. I could hear the fear in his voice. He was terrified. And he died alone. And there was nothing I could do. Dreth saw something shift in her eyes. He prepared for death. But the bullet never came. Death is too easy for you, Sujin said. She lowered her weapon. You will stand trial. The galaxy will see what you did. And then, you will live the rest of your life knowing that everyone knows. That is worse than anything I could do to you here. She cuffed him and dragged him out into the light. On the eternal dawn, Lieutenant Hana Choi struggled with what she had seen and done. Her arm had healed, but something else had not. She could not sleep. When she closed her eyes, she saw explosions. She heard screams. She remembered the face of an enemy soldier, young and terrified. In the moment before her ship's guns ended his life, Admiral Taman found her on the observation deck, staring at the stars. Lieutenant, he said quietly. Hana straightened, but did not turn. Admiral, I apologize. I should be at my station. Your shift ended 3 hours ago. Taman stood beside her. Tell me what is wrong. Hana was silent for a long time. I killed people today, she finally said. I know they were enemies. I know they would have killed us. But they were people. They had families. They had lives. And I ended them. Taman nodded slowly. Yes, you did. How do you live with it? The Admiral looked out at the stars. You don't forget. You shouldn't forget. The day you stop feeling the weight of death is the day you lose yourself. He paused. But you remember why we fight. We fight so that the next generation will not have to. We fight so that there will be no more new Buzans. We fight so that someday, children can grow up without fear. And when it is over, Taman turned to look at her. When it is over, we put down our swords. We build instead of destroy. We heal instead of hurt. That is the only way to make peace with what we have done. Hana wiped her eyes. Do you believe that, Admiral? Taman touched the pocket where his daughter's letter rested. I have to believe it. It is the only thing that keeps me human. 3 months after the first shots were fired, the Veldrathi Dominion officially surrendered. Their government signed documents admitting their crimes. Their military leaders were taken into custody for trial. Their weapons of mass destruction were dismantled under human supervision. It was the fastest defeat of a major galactic power in recorded history. But Admiral Taman was not satisfied with just victory. He broadcast a message across every channel in the galaxy, making sure every species heard his words. The Veldrathi are finished. But let every civilization hear this. We remember. We remember every world that was taken from us, every life that was dismissed, every cry for help that was ignored. We chose peace once. You chose to make us choose again. His voice hardened. Pray we never have to make this choice. A third time, the galaxy received the message. The galaxy remembered, and the galaxy was afraid. The war was over, but the galaxy was forever changed. The Veldrathi Dominion no longer existed. Their empire was dissolved, their military destroyed, their leaders awaiting trial. Worlds that had lived under their rule for centuries were suddenly free. Some celebrated. Others simply sat in shock, unable to believe what had happened. The Galactic Assembly gathered for the first time since the war began. The chamber, that had once echoed with laughter at humanity, now sat in complete silence. Representatives who had mocked Ambassador Yuna could not meet her eyes. Those who had voted against helping New Busan found excuses to be elsewhere when she entered the room. Yuna stood before them one final time as a speaker of war. After today, she would return to being a diplomat. But first, she had one more message to deliver. 4 months ago, I stood in this chamber and begged for justice. I showed you evidence of murder. I showed you the dying words of our children. You gave us nothing but laughter and contempt. She paused. We did not want war. We never wanted war. But when our people cry out for help, and the galaxy turns its back, we will answer those cries ourselves. She activated a holographic display. Names appeared. 2,300,000 names. The dead of New Busan. These are the people you abandoned. Teachers, farmers, children. They believed in peace. They believed in the goodness of the galaxy. They died because of that belief. Yuna's voice was steady but heavy with grief. We honor them not with vengeance, but with justice. The leaders who ordered their deaths will face trial. The truth of what happened will be recorded for all time, and never again will the galaxy ignore such crimes. She announced the creation of the Galactic Court of Justice. A real court, with real power, capable of holding any species accountable for crimes against innocent people. This was Earth's demand for ending the war. The Assembly had no choice but to accept. The ancient Nurathan eldest rose to speak. His voice carried the weight of millions of years. We have watched this galaxy since before most of your species existed. We have seen empires rise and fall. We have seen wars fought for glory and greed and revenge. But we have never seen what we have seen these past months. He turned to face the human delegation. The humans did not fight for conquest. They did not keep the worlds they took. They did not enslave the people they defeated. They fought for justice, and when justice was achieved, they stopped. The eldest bowed his ancient head. We studied humanity when they first arrived. We read their histories, and we were afraid. Now we understand. Yes, humans are capable of great destruction, but they are also capable of great restraint. They choose to be peaceful. That choice makes them more dangerous than any species we have known, but it also makes them admirable. The assembly stirred. Such praise from the Neurathans was unprecedented. Admiral Taman was not in the assembly chamber. He had retired the day the surrender was signed. He could not bear to remain in uniform any longer. The weight of what he had done pressed on his soul like a stone. He traveled to New Busan. The planet was empty now, silent and still. The buildings remained standing. The fields continued to grow. But there was no one left to harvest them. No children playing in the streets. No teachers guiding young minds. He walked until he found the school where his daughter had taught. The building was intact, preserved by some cruel chance. Her classroom was exactly as she had left it. Drawings hung on the walls. Books sat open on desks. A half-written lesson plan lay on her desk, waiting for a teacher who would never return. Taman sat in her chair and wept. Lieutenant Hana Choi found him there. She had requested permission to accompany him, though she had not said why. Now she understood. This was a pilgrimage, a goodbye. "Admiral," she said softly. Taman wiped his eyes. "I am not an admiral anymore, Lieutenant. Just an old man visiting his daughter." Hana sat beside him. She was a good teacher. I read her file. Her students loved her. She loved them more. Taman looked at the drawings on the walls. She used to tell me that war was never the answer. She believed that you could change the universe, one child at a time. Kindness, patience, understanding. He smiled sadly. She was right. But sometimes, the universe does not give you that choice. They sat in silence for a long time. Finally, Hana spoke. "What do we do now, sir? The war is over. The enemy is defeated. But I still feel empty." Taman stood and walked to the window. Outside, purple flowers were blooming in a garden that Jiwon had planted. "We build," he said. "We heal. We teach the next generation why peace matters, and why war must always be the last choice, not the first." He turned to face her. "You are young, Hana. You have seen the worst that humanity can do. Now go and be part of the best. Raise children. Create art. Grow gardens. Live the life that my daughter never got to live. And the military? Someone must remain vigilant. Someone must ensure that we never forget the lessons we learned." Taman's eyes hardened, briefly, then softened. "General Minho will keep the Ghost Protocol files, just in case, but I pray they gather dust forever." Captain Sujin Han returned to space, but not to war. She was given command of a deep exploration vessel, the New Dawn, and ordered to find new worlds. Not for conquest, for settlement, for hope. On her first mission, she discovered a planet with golden skies and endless fields of grain. She named it Jiwon, after the woman who had taught children to grow rice in alien soil. Dr. Jinho Lee shut down his weapons laboratory. He burned his notes and destroyed his prototypes. Then, he opened a new laboratory dedicated to medicine. His first project was a cure for a childhood disease that had plagued humanity for generations. He succeeded within 2 years. "I spent my life learning how to end lives," he said at the award ceremony. "Now I will spend the rest of it learning how to save them." General Minho Ryu remained in the shadows, watching and waiting. He trusted no one and believed in nothing except preparation. But even he allowed himself to hope, just a little, that his preparations would never be needed again. Lieutenant Hana Choi was promoted. She became the youngest instructor at the Earth Military Academy, teaching tactical analysis to cadets who would hopefully never see combat. She taught them two things above all else: how to fight and why to seek peace. War is not glorious, she told each new class. It is horror and grief and loss. We train so that we can protect the innocent. But the greatest victory is the war that never has to be fought. Years passed. The galaxy slowly healed. The Veldrathi survivors rebuilt their civilization under strict supervision. Former enemies became trading partners. Old wounds began to close. A young alien diplomat visited Ambassador Yuna in her office one afternoon. She was old now, retired from active duty, but still consulted on matters of galactic importance. The diplomat had a question that had bothered him since childhood. Why did humanity wait so long to fight back? You had the power. You had the weapons. Why did you let other species hurt you for so many years? Yuna looked out her window at the earth below. Blue and green and beautiful. Her eyes were tired, but peaceful. Because we remembered what war cost. We remembered what we lost the last time we unleashed ourselves. We hoped, truly hoped, that we would never have to become that again. She sighed. But when you killed our children, you reminded us of something we had tried so hard to forget. The diplomat leaned forward. What? Yuna turned to face him. Her eyes were ancient with grief, but bright with something that might have been pride. That we are very, very good at war. And that is not something we ever wanted to be. She returned her gaze to the stars. But if we must be, then we will be. And the galaxy will remember. Not with fear, but with respect. Because we choose peace every single day. We wake up and make that choice again and again, even when it is hard, even when it hurts. She smiled softly. That is what makes us human. Not our strength, our restraint. Outside her window, ships flew toward distant stars. Humans and aliens working together, building a future that neither could have imagined a century ago. The war was over, but the lesson would echo through the galaxy